Welcome to Albion TV presents the AO Daily Show, your source of real news in an unreal world, keeping you up to date on the latest news, events, and the great community of Albion Online. Today is Thursday, the 23rd of June, 2021. I am your host, the Shozen One, and joining me today, as always, I have the great, the powerful, the man who knows how to turn up the volume and mute me. Yes, it's Bogul.
Thursday question mark. It's
It's
Wednesday.
Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I wrote it down wrong. Yeah.
Thank you, chat. Welcome to the show. I honestly, I was just reading chat and I was like, oh wait, chosen. I didn't even hear. Anyway, how are you doing after
Apparently,
figuring out?
I'm doing okay, but I don't know what day of the week it is.
I mean, you just won a day of the week, dude. Think about it that way. You just
Yeah.
got a
I have
whole
an
day.
extra day.
Yeah.
I have an extra day. Wow. Fantastic. All right. Well, it is Wednesday, and that does mean it's the interview day. Every other week here on Albion TV, we will be releasing an interview at 19 UTC on Wednesdays.
Mhm.
And then when we're not doing interviews, Bogle, do you know what we'll be doing?
I think feedback is the new thing that we do every other Wednesday now, right?
Yes, it is. Bogle, do you have a link for that we can throw these guys in chat so they can see what we'll be talking about next Wednesday?
It's on the screen and it's on the Twitch chat too. It is a new format that we are piloting right now, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to go reach out to you guys about important bits of information, new and upcoming changes to the game, what you guys think is broken, what needs fixing, what's on your mind. If there's something going on in the game that you think could use a little attention, go ahead and hit us up and we will try to bring it to the developers and get some changes made for you. However, that said, each week we will be selecting a few specific topics that we are going to focus on and we would like you to focus on as well. This week we will be looking at the economic changes in season 13, the first impressions on the new gathering, transmutation, and relics. Season 13 new mobs. You know, you've seen those spiders, you've seen those traveling chests, those open world mobs. What do we call those, Bogle? Roaming mobs?
I avoided it on purpose. I didn't write roaming mobs here because I'm on a personal crusade to get that removed from the game. That name. But
you're going to have to fight me tooth and nail, Bogle, because I love it.
Well, you know, the dudes that now can, in theory, upgrade to a rarer version if they aren't killed in time, right? That's new with season 13.
Mhm.
And I think the third topic is sort of, you know, going back to one of the topics that we had last week, or what, 2 or 3 weeks from now, that the Feedback Loop 2 show, living in the Outlands and the Black Zones. And this time specifically, we want to look at rest cities and public hideouts. You know, whether or not these are viable, what could be a little bit different about them. Are people actually living out of them, or is it just the Black Zone guilds who occupy and control these?
I'm under the impression that you have one of 2 public hideouts.
I think there are more than 2. I think there are more than 2. But yes, I am. Why?
Because if who do I go to for that feedback, Bogle? Who do I ask about it? If there's only well, if you guys out there in Twitch land have ideas on these, please get in touch with us. Go to this forum post that we have put in there into the suggestions forums just the other day and let us know your thoughts, what you'd like to see changed, why you do or do not use them, where you like living, and what would I guess prompt you to live out of one of these areas.
Yeah. Next Wednesday, we'll try and put that feedback together. We'll try to collect the best posts, maybe even showcase what you wrote in there in that thread, or that you you know, sent Shozen, or you know, anybody of us basically. But that's, I think, all the plugs we have today. All the things people need to know going forward. Maybe that we'll be doing raffles toward the rest of the show today a little bit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We will be dropping a number of raffles today during the show. while we listen to the interview that I did just the other day with Domknit and Yocttar of Title and Surf and the ongoing war with the PoE empire. So do tune into that, do listen, and drop that exclamation point raffle in chat so you are entered into the raffle and have your chance at some quality gold codes.
All right. And any other introduction needed for Domnit and Yocttar, or can we just assume people know who will be on the show now?
Well, they'll know really soon, and if I start explaining it more, then it will just be doubling up on the interview, won't we?
I suppose. All right, all right. I'm ready to play the thing. If you are, then we can go ahead.
All right, let's do it. Thank you. Welcome to the Albion TV interview series. I am the Shozen One, and I am joined today by Domknit, the GM of Title and leader of Surf, as well as his right hand and jester, Yocttar.
Hello!
We're going to be talking about where they came from, Season 12, and what they expect to happen in Season 13. But first, Dom, why don't you tell me a little bit about where Surf came from, how you created this mega alliance that has been fighting against Poe now for years, and what you guys plan to do going forward?
Yeah, awesome. So basically, I'm the leader of Title and Surf. We started before Title came from a guild called Phrasing, which was a guild before Queen Update that hit top 3, hit Crystal multiple seasons. That was mainly like a GVG focused guild. When Queen Update came out, the GVGers were a little bit burnt out. They wanted to take a break from the game, so they handed me the reins because at the time, I was the ZVZ lead of the Phrasing Alliance called Quiet. I was also the ZVZ lead of Phrasing. So since it was going to be a ZVZ meta and Queen Update, they thought, Domnit, you should make the next guild. So I did, and that's where Title came from. And then the Quiet Alliance eventually turned into Surf. So the Title made an alliance called Surf. We picked up a guilds around Bridge Roch, and then we just went that way with Surf ever since then. So we've been here from season 8. So we've been pretty strong since then.
Yeah, that's a long time ago. That's the beginning of the Queen.
Yeah, it's a very long time. And we've been through a lot of fights. Honestly, the content has been amazing at Surf so far. So really good.
Yeah, you guys have not stopped. I've been watching you guys. I guess it's almost a year and a half since Queen dropped, and it's been incredible to see you guys constantly fighting against the largest bodies in Albion. You've been fighting mostly against PoE for a year and a half. I think your main opponent has mostly been Sun, right?
Yeah, like Sun, PoE. So yeah, we started even before Queen Update when I was in Phrasing. We had like a little rivalry with CIR. Going into Queen, we made Surf, and then ever since Surf was made, we've been fighting PoE around Bridge Watch. I mean, we had multiple opponents other than PoE, but yeah, we came back to Bridge Watch and we started fighting PoE once again.
Yeah, and Season 12 was the most exciting season we've ever had as far as constant wars. We had one war in the beginning that turned into a second war towards the end, and you guys have been involved with both of those wars. You've been incredibly involved with both of those wars. But I don't want to say you're on the losing end, but your opponent there did get first place.
Yeah, so basically in season 12, we came down to Bridge Rush. I'll just go through like what happened in season 12. So beginning of season 12, we came down to Bridge Rush. Currently at that time, it was OPM versus PoE, and it was OPM versus Arch. So they're getting ganged up on. So we saw that. We were like, you know what? That sounds like some good content. We could like even out the numbers a bit. So we went to team up with OPM. We teamed up with Monkey, and then we ended up fighting PoE, Squad, Rage Control, all the guilds that held. Oh, also Bacon's at the time when they still existed. All these guilds were holding Bridge Rush before we came. And then if you look at the map now, you can see that's mainly just Surf and OPM and Monkey that owns all of, now called Steve, they were called Monkey before. We own Bridge Rush now. So we basically eradicated PoE and Squad influence from the area, which was basically the biggest thing of Season 12 that happened. And also that caused like many guilds in PoE to disband, including Rage Control, who lived in these areas. So that basically happened that season. Also, Raid had their whole thing in the north while we were fighting in the south. They were fighting PoE in the north. They were like a hype guild. They had like three, like they had Raid 1, Raid 2, Raid 3. I think we talked about in the last interview. They had a very big mess going into the season. They had a lot of hype. Obviously, for any guild that has a lot of hype, it eventually dies down over the season. We saw that with Raid, but they were fighting constantly in the north while we fought in the south. And then, yeah, and that was that season. And then season 12, yeah, so basically the last 3 months, we basically were fighting around Bridge Watch. PoE was going for castles. We were going for castles. Like they're hard pushing Sun to #1. They were dropping them a lot of castles, dropping them a lot of alpha. So we were contesting them. We'd fight PoE Care every day at like 12 UTC. Towards the end of last season, we saw what happened. The Call Alliance came out of nowhere. Well, they came from Fear. A lot of those guilds turned into the guilds in Call. They came out as a powerhouse recently, and they started the war around Limhurst. We started the war around Bridgewatch, and we've been fighting Squad and PoE ever since. That's basically like the bareback summary.
And you've been very effective at that, keeping them busy, taking territories. And I wonder if their push for points, and because they were very focused on points for a lot of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you think that push for points had any effect on their ability to defend their territories in general? Because we have seen, like you said, both over in Limehurst and in Bridgewatch, we're seeing kind of like you guys taking territories, taking out hideouts, and really pushing in on both sides with your, I want to say it's like a 3-group alliance right now.
Yeah, so basically what went down is Sun at the time was so when Domknit was leading Sun, he merged from Rang into like his Rang boys he took from BA, he went to Sun. Sun was really strong. It was one of the strongest guilds in PoE at the time. Well, what do we see happen? June reopened, Domknit and his Sun guys went to that guild. Sun became a lot weaker, and a lot of the guilds that were helping out Sun push #1 got weaker as well, because what happens when you don't get content, right? Your boys get lazy, the masses get smaller, especially if you're fighting hype guilds like Call. A lot of those guilds had a lot of hype going in because they're newer guilds. PoE was not ready for that, right? So we were fighting Squad and PoE on our side. Call was fighting Squad and PoE on their side. We weren't in the same comms, but we had a similar goal. We never were in the same team speak or anything like that with Call. But at this point, I think everyone is tired of like the monopoly that Squad and PoE had on the map. Like if you could look at the map, you see their influence. It's pretty easy to see, right? You know.
Yeah, they have an incredibly large rental empire. That Squad came in, I think it was at the beginning of this last season and beginning of season 12, and really redesigned the way that Squad was run and became a rental empire out of nowhere.
Exactly.
And really kind of matched PoE's gameplay style, which I think was a shock to a lot of people. I don't think people expected Squad to do that. That's more of an Arch and PoE style of gameplay, where you had seen Squad be more content driven in the past. And now that they're, I guess, profits driven, you see, like you said, some people dropping off, though. Side note, I guess Squad is attempting to become a hype guild of their own by saying it's their final season.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're like, oh, hyping up a guild
Every
really
season.
works. Every
Every
season.
season is the final season.
I mean, let's say like let this interview like let's make a bet, okay? Let's see if they do it.
All right.
Will be the actual...
Hey, I honestly think that they'll be back. I'm going to be honest. But I can take the devil's advocate on this one and say they're not going to be here, so that you guys can say you won the bet.
Oh, but yeah, no, so like guilds like say that stuff. They say they push Crystal. They say they push #1. It's to get all those AFK guys back into the game, give them an objective to work for. I mean, I think Squad has been playing a lot of wild cards. I mean, they joined Arch last season. I mean, no one in this game would expect that, right? So like, I think they're just trying to make it interesting, but at the same time, a lot of their hand holding makes it boring for the rest of the server, right? Like it's hard to fight like 80% of the map when they're just teaming up. So I think right now it's very interesting because they're getting pushed back. Like even though they have so many numbers, they're getting pushed back, and I think they're not used to that. So let's see how it goes.
So about that content style of stuff, I just want to touch on that, because you had said that, you know, when your guys aren't getting content, they kind of leave. It's always happened. I also want to add to that, if you give them repetitive content, like grindy repetitive content, that also can push them out. So when you're pushing for points and saying, guys, go made those rages, no, you have to do, what was it, 70 hours of mage raiding.
Oh my god. Which guild was that again?
Wasn't it Black Order at one point? They were like, yeah.
Oh
I don't remember what the exact number was, but I was like, are you kidding me? That's like 2 jobs. Come on, guys.
That's a job. That's actually a job, man. Like,
Yeah.
That's crazy. Nah, that's like, you have to have a balance, right? Like 70 hours is man. That's not video game at that
I
point.
think I'm getting that wrong. It's an exaggeration. I think it was, but it was a full-time job over in Black Order to mage raid last season or the season before that. And
100%, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
we saw like that kind of behavior kind of head over to other guilds when people saw how successful it was, particularly Mudhouse doing very similar strategies to Black Order, raiding mages in the off hours. It's easier for them because they're a Filipino guild, and we saw two Filipino guilds in the top 3 this season because
my boys, Maharlika. Shout out to them. You want to know the crazy thing about Maharlika?
Yeah, let's hear it.
They were super halfway through the season. They didn't know if they wanted to push. They told me, Domknit, I don't know if we want to push gold or crystal. Like 50 days into 50 days left in the season. They weren't even sure if they're gonna push crystal. Out of nowhere, man, they went from silver to top 3. I'd never heard of such a thing. Like in the middle of the season. Like I don't know how they did it to this day. Like I still ask them like how they did it. It's crazy.
Mage raiding, man. It's those off hours. Like if people can't defend their stuff, and you're seeing a increased interest in defending mages, then those off hours are gonna be really, really good for people. Where the rest of the hours seem to be split among a bunch of different groups.
Yeah, exactly.
The early morning stuff was split between 2.
Yeah, exactly.
And you had this Filipino war going on. Between Mudhouse and Maharlika, and they were drawing from the same pool of players and the same guilds, and you would hear it's that nobody wants to be in the guild that's already winning. People want to be in the guild that's taking down the winner.
Underdogs, yeah.
So you saw like a bunch of people kind of switching to Maharlika from the Mudhouse group. It's not just Mudhouse; it was like a group of guilds playing together.
Yeah, a lot of people just started joining Maharlika when they saw the momentum picking up. They're like, "Yo, this is actually a thing." That's the funny thing. So hear this out, right? So Mudhouse got their points and they disbanded like before the season ended. So they got the points and they're like far ahead over anyone that could push number 3. And then all of a sudden, they disbanded, right? And all of a sudden they're like, wait, Maharlika is actually gonna beat us. So they start panicking, and everyone that left the guild, like they lost like all their members. So they went from 250 members to like less than 100. So they're like panicking, like contacting everyone that was like, guys, come back to the guild. Like, so the people who left to other guilds came back, and they had to again start the grind again. So it was really funny to see that.
And then it led to that end of season point rush where both teams were like grabbing every 5v5 team they could.
It was insane. Like they're paying like 35k per point, 40k. Like it was insane. I never heard those rates before. That's insane.
Other than just I think the Cargera team is the only one that was getting rates like that at, what was it, $1.5 billion per season?
I have no idea. Like they probably make so much of Cargera's thing back. Probably even more, honestly. Like
well, I believe they just got a set rate per season from Sun.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's incredible to see how these mercenary teams are getting paid. Actually, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about these mercenary teams getting paid so much as a guild and alliance leader?
I mean, personally, I think like it really is kind of pay to win. Like it makes it feel like Crystal #1, as you've seen for the past few seasons, like compared to before Queen. If you look at all the winners, it's kind of seemed pay to win, right? But like maybe besides like Elevate and stuff like that, like I feel like Black Order invested a lot of money into their win. Sun invested a lot of money into do you see how many points they got? Like they got like 900.
Yeah, they have the most points.
Yeah, like someone needs to do the math on how much they paid Mercs for that, or like just in general, like how much they invested for that. That's insane amount of points to get that. I mean, they also had those inner Terries that I'm sure generated a majority of that, but Mercs are really, really a game changer. Like I think Maharlika really use Mercs as well, so they're paying the same amount. But I think like Mercs, like I feel like in this game people should have loyalty for the guild they play for. That's just me. That's how I felt before Queen update. Like GVGers were a lot more loyal, but as you see now, GVGers play for whoever pays them the most. They could literally be one day in BA, the next in Elevate. They could be.
It's only like that. It's only like that.
Yeah,
like, there is no GVGers that actually like maybe rarely in rare occasion or on low levels. Yes, but if it's high levels,
it's whoever pays most. Like there's no morals, There's no morals. It doesn't matter who your enemy is, anything like that. Whoever just pays the most wins. So I think it's just a weird mechanic. I think it should be nerfed a little bit more, but that's just me.
It's definitely created like a mercenary class in the game.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very interesting. Yeah.
Maybe make a suggestion. For example, if you switch guild, you have cooldown for GVG points for the previous guild for 30 days or something like that.
Yeah,
you know?
some kind of
To
restriction. Yeah,
nerf that.
That's interesting. I'm going to write that
Exactly.
one down. I'll bring it to Retro Man on Friday.
Perfect. Cool. But yeah, mercs are crazy, man. Like they're generating like at least like half of a guild's crystal push or something. It's insane.
Absolutely. And that touches back onto the point where I kind of, alluded to that, your opponents won the season and, you guys look like on the map, like you're winning. You guys look like you're winning this war. But you lost the season, because your biggest enemy, I consider Sun your biggest enemy, because you guys fight over the same territories, you live side by side, you've been fighting each other for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
and they get first place, but you've taken so much of their stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's the trade-off, right? So like they gave up a lot of their zones. They had a goal of pushing number one. I mean, let's be honest. Like, who really contested the number one last season? It wasn't contested. There's no one. Like Mudhouse wasn't contesting Sun, right? They made a deal. Black Order was initially contesting, right? But you saw what happened to them. They got wiped off the map, and then I think they just gave up at that point. Like, I think Magic Mark went AFK as well, so there's not really much of a contest, right? So like, no one from our side, like Monkey or Surf side, was pushing number one. Sure, we had people pushing top two, top three, but we didn't really have anyone really trying to contest Sun.
No one wanted the push.
Exactly.
Like we wanted the content. I personally prefer content over Crystal.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Like last season was just mainly a content build. But for Surf last season, we aimed to get a majority of our guilds to gold. If you look at Surf's last, like all the guilds in Surf, I think like 7 out of 8 guilds got gold.
That's pretty good.
We have 7 or more people on the round table because of that. So it's huge. It's a really huge, big deal for us.
Well, congratulations to that. Do you think that going for points actually is a detriment to the content then? Is that what you would feel?
So you need a balance.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, you can answer this one.
Yes, it is. Like if you you set your mind to, okay, I'm going gold. So okay, you're slowly going to gold. Wait, I reached gold. Maybe now I'll go to crystal. Okay, we push for crystal. You don't like, okay, let's go crystal. You need to push. You need to hire GVG teams. You need to do mage raiding. You need to do castles. You need to do everything. Push, and then you might kill the content for those that love the ZVZ or whatever. Like you do mage raiding, which is not interesting for them. You do castles,
exactly.
which
you need a balance. You need a balance, yeah. So for us, like we always want to create a balance. So even when we're pushing gold, we made sure to focus ZVZ. And then like in timers where we were a little bit chilling, we just focused on doing outposts, castles. Like for example, like 6 UTC castles, 9 UTC outposts. When like there's not much ZVZ on the map. Like usually like NA timers, I feel like are kind of quiet. So those are really good times to get some points there. But like we still get that content during the EU side. You know, like all the wars at 18, the fights at 15 UTC, the fights at 12. We're still hitting the content, but we're also hitting the points as well using that strategy. So we're getting both.
Do you think those are the 3 biggest time zones right there, the 12, 15, and 18?
So in terms of fights, right now I would say 15, 18, and 21. Right now, like currently, that's just if you look at the map. Those like the only launches on the map are on the south, and those are the timers. So 15, 18, 21. 21, yeah.
Speaking of launches, I was really surprised how at the end of the season we saw an uptick in launches. Generally, what we've seen at the end of seasons is a waiting period. People kind of go dormant until the next season, especially if new guilds and alliances form at the end of the season. Those groups tend to be very quiet and build their numbers and prepare for a big launch on the next season. When the next invasion day comes up, they can take a bunch of territories and they can hurt their opponents. It looks like you guys have taken a really different approach to that.
So for us personally as Tidal, like we've definitely got a lot more hype recently because we announced that we're pushing Crystal next season. Also, like we had a lot of people coming back from other guilds, like they're already planning to. So once that 65-day mark hit, a lot of players came to Tidal and to Surf. So we had a lot bigger masses and a lot more content that we were able to provide to our guys. For other guilds, just in general around the map, just in terms of politics, like I said, the Call Alliance was a big game changer in terms of what's going on the map right now, because a lot of them are hype guilds, right? They were formed as soon as that 65-day mark was hit. A lot of the members from Sun went to June. Menace was getting a lot of members from Clubhouse when they disbanded. Homeless Crew was always there, but like a Homeless Crew got a lot more hype when they joined Call. So like a lot of these, like Pendolino is another guild that formed after the 65-day mark. So a lot of these guilds needed content to provide their members, right? Like if you're hyped up, you need to provide content. Otherwise, people are just that theme in the beginning is the most important thing, right? As soon as you don't provide content, that's it. Like you're gonna lose that steam going to the season.
Also, like to answer part of your question is like territories are usually being taken only to launch on hideouts, which was not before, because now you have to take a territory in order to launch on a hideout.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
And so you guys are trying right now to take down as many hideouts as you can before the start of the next season.
Yes.
Exactly. So that way, like now it's the dead time, right? You don't need to focus on castles. You don't need to focus on outposts because they're not giving any points, right? So what better time is it than now to hit hideouts, right? You need to be hitting them now so that next season you can also focus on castles, not just on hideouts, right? Not just on terries.
Yeah, especially if you want to push for Crystal next season.
Exactly.
Giving your guys like the regular content, putting them onto CTA rotation, reminding them through the off season that they have to stay busy.
Exactly.
Get them into that schedule so that they know what they're going to be doing next season.
Exactly.
And you're not going to have to overload them at the beginning of the season while you're trying to both get points and take down hideouts. So you can create your borders very early, figure out who owns what, and then push for your season points. Yeah, I like it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's basically the plan. Yeah, exactly.
All right. With the season points, do you guys plan on making 5v5 and 20v20 teams to secure points? Because I know Sun secured so many points
they
going like just unopposed in 20v20s.
Yeah, go to Yocttar.
I'll answer that. We are on like low fire, aiming for crystal. I don't think we're aiming for number 3 even. We want crystal, okay? So we do have GVG teams. We will do major raid. Like we are not going to burn anyone out,
Exactly, yeah. But if we do see a good pace and there's not much competition, I don't mind pushing top 5. But our goal for now is just going to be crystal. Just hitting that goal. Because in this game, for me personally, and even for title, and like we done almost everything in terms of getting terries, hideouts, fighting wars. The only thing we haven't achieved is that crystal rank and that the high ranking in terms of points. So that's the one thing missing. So I want to really get that. That's on my bucket list.
Sounds good. No, I like it. I like saying, well, with going to crystal, you can say this is how many points we need to get each week and have a consistent push going forward.
Exactly.
When you say you want to go for 1, it just every week gets more and more pressure. You have to get more points and more points and more points. And you can't really say we need to get X number of points this week and we're good. And then after that, we can all, F off. We can all just do whatever the hell we want as long as we got this week's points. But when you say you're going for first, there's no stopping. You just have to keep going.
Exactly. Yeah. And another thing for number 1 guilds, you see a lot of them burn out and you see what happens. Like a lot of people are tired. They want to try something new. So like for longevity, like basically if you want your guild to last longer, you need to have a good balance. Like maybe pushing top 1 is good if you can make it in a way that's enjoyable for your members, so they stick around for the next season. Like it's all about making people engaged in the content. So.
Absolutely. Before we move on to next season and what's coming up, I want to talk a little bit about this loose coalition that you guys have formed between yourselves and Steve and Call. One of the differences between this coalition and past coalitions is Red is dead.
Yeah.
You guys aren't really hand-holding. You have the same objective of eliminating PoE, but you're not really an alliance. You're not really friends. I see you guys fight each other on the map. I know there's a lot of animosity between Call and Steve.
Yeah.
They love to fight each other. And from the very beginning, Call stated, we will not be hand-holding with Steve. We don't like them, but we hate them more.
Exactly. So it's like enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So like it's kind of like that. So like basically everyone dislikes Period Squad. There's a monopoly like on the map, right? So everyone's tired of that. A lot of the members and Call are actually X Squad, X PoE. Like you see members from BA going to June, members from Sun going to June. You used to just see a lot of like Last One. Remember, Last One used to be in Squad. Now they're Homeless Crew. You see a lot of those.
We hated Chiro more than the PoE.
So a lot of the Zergs that are fighting PoE, we actually fought against them and actually had beef with. So like you could see, like I think the game should be like everyone fights each other. Like I think that's what Call is trying to do. They want to make sure everyone's fighting each other, but at the same time we have a common enemy. So I think that's why they want to maintain that they don't want to handhold, right? So like obviously like Surf and Steve are together. Like we're close allies, so we're on the same team speak. Call is in their own team speak. They do their own things. I mean, we very loosely coordinate because we know what maps they're going for. We know what maps we're gonna hit. So like they hit from the north, we hit from the south. But when we see each other, it's usually like like people end up fighting, right? You see them on the map, you see the battle board, so I don't need to like provide proof. You guys see it. So that's basically the main thing. And I think the game is more enjoyable that way. But Squad takes advantage of that for sure. Squad and PoE are on the same comms. You know, you see it. Like they have like 40 guys in one TeamSpeak channel. Like if there's Zerg, they have Zerg on the TeamSpeak, man.
Well, that's impressive. You have to give them some credit for that. But one of the things I think that you guys are doing well is you're stopping the ability of Syndic from using his favorite play against large coalitions, which is denial of content.
Yeah, exactly.
He can't deny you guys content because you're all fighting each other.
Exactly.
And if he denies content, you guys are going to hit your objectives and then fight each other and keep your players content, which I think is a brilliant idea as far as like overarching strategy.
So one more thing that is gonna like, yeah. So you know how we touched up on BA disbanding the next season, right? So if this is true, like PoE is in a lot of trouble. You know, like if you look at their past 2 or 3 seasons, who's come down to help PoE every single day? Blue Army Squad, right? So like they really need to figure something out to solve that issue, because if not, like even a denial of content is not going to save them, right? So like in the long run, I don't see how PoE is going to end up winning in this coalition in this season, this upcoming season. I don't see it, right? So
well, this next one, I think they have a shot because Blue Army's here.
yeah, exactly.
But after that, I think they're going to have a hard time. Did you hear the Artista King Mojo interview?
No, I did not. When was that?
It's about 2 months ago now, but Artista's been doing some fantastic interviews out there. One of the things he said, though, is that the only reason he helps Poe is because of his relationship with Mojo.
Exactly.
And if Mojo isn't here, Maiden BR no longer has any interest in assisting the PoE empire.
And that, though, but we all know it's not true.
Right. And you have to wonder how many squad groups have that same mentality. How many will they lose without having their guy who shall not be mentioned to organize the Brazilian groups?
Exactly. So
how do they keep those groups together in PoE when the largest personalities in the Brazilian community are like, no, thank you?
Exactly. I mean, Artista, you know, he got evicted by PoE. Like all these squad guilds got evicted by PoE. But when Elevate came out, when Steve came out, Monkey came out, and Surf, like, right, they view us as bigger enemies than PoE for some reason, so they teamed up. But at the end of the day, they have like fake smiles when working with each other. It's just people don't see it, you know? Like they help each other because they know that if they don't help each other, that they're next, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for Bluff, do you think PoE will help them at NA? PoE massive 20 guys NA.
Yeah, that's where they play, and it's going to be a one-sided assistance, really, you know, because you'll see like Maiden BR going to help because they're very active at all hours. They hit all the time zones that they can.
Exactly.
But you don't see the same thing with like, say, Skoyatal or Hammer and Sickle. You know, they're very early. CIR tends to play a little bit more dedicated at times. I can see some of their leaders out there leading shit at other hours, but not the majority of the strong PoE group.
Yeah, they at most a massic 20 guys. And do you think PoE will run every day north? No, they won't. Like the only people that run every day for that with that much stamina is Blue Army and Squad. They ran every day 30 zones for like months. They lost a lot of members because of that. Because people get burnt out, man. You can't be running that much for content. And a lot of times when they don't get content, they have to do a circle trip of 60 zones, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what do they tell their members? Better luck tomorrow.
Yeah,
and they all log off.
There's not a lot you can do when you get denied content after running 30 zones. That horse simulator game can be rough. I mean, What do you do? Break into 2 groups and do a scrim? And say, okay, whoever wins has to bring home the gear. I mean...
You did BA versus BA Freeman. You kick BA Freeman from the lines and you scream it out. Oh my god. I don't know. That's crazy.
I really don't know what they can do. I mean, I personally hated running, 15 zones with BA back in the day.
Same. Like when I had to run north sometimes, Morgana rest for to fighting. Like I felt it was really hard. Like I don't know, it was tiring. It was definitely tiring.
So going into season 13, you guys have this, like we said, this loose coalition that's really been effective, and you guys have really taken down a lot of hideouts. What's your plan for the map? What do you guys plan to do against PoE going forward, or is that too many secrets?
I mean, right now, I just like what we're doing right now, because honestly, even for me, like in the long run, it's really dependent on how we perform. But right now, if you look at the map, we're inching up closer and closer to Bridge Rock. You see the call, if you look at the map, they're pushing to like the main PoE zones at 21 UTC, like Sunken Bow Wood, Sunken Bow Spring. We're inching up to driving Rarebed, driving Confluence from the surf side. At one point, I think both sides will actually end up meeting, and then you know what's gonna happen from there. You know, like so. I think that's basically the goal.
PvP.
Do you think that you guys will end up fighting each other inside your coalition if you push out enough PoE? Will you just start battling each other for territory?
I mean, that's really like I'm not sure, because PoE and Squad are bringing a lot of numbers for us to just be messing around fighting each other, right? It's like we're fighting on two fronts. They have enough people to field both fronts, right? Like so, like for example, Call would fight full PoE, Surf and Steve will fight full Squad, and that's still a lot of people we're fighting on both fronts. Obviously, if those numbers die down and the fights start becoming a lot more one-sided, I could definitely see it like a free-for-all going down the line. But I still think that's far. But let's see, because if BA is pushing #1, how are they going to manage not getting burnt out? Running 30 zones, getting castles, mage rating 24/7, like, come on, man. You know that's not going to work in the long run. It's going to burn a lot of people out. They're going to start massing 30 guys at that rate. So
I'm a little worried about them too, because a lot of the numbers that they're filling their ranks with are returning members who've already been burnt out in the past, and they're returning for content. And there's a big difference between content and pushing for points, like we discussed earlier. How long will these like veterans who've left because of that either denial of content gameplay that they faced when they were going against PoE, or the grindy content that they had to deal with during season 8.
Exactly.
Those two periods really kind of burnt out a lot of people. I remember doing exit interviews with members of BA going, winning isn't fun. When you're just grinding for points, it's not fun.
Oh, but so hear this out, right? So we got an insider in BA, and we actually listened to their internal meeting. They were actually saying word for word, quote unquote. Her name is Periel, I think.
Mm-hmm.
She basically said, "We want you guys to burn out this season." Word for word, she said that. I've never heard a guild tell their members, "We want you to burn out." Like, cause no one, like, when you play a video game, you don't want your members to burn. Like, that should be the goal. No guild should have that goal. You should not have a goal before the season begins to burn out. Like, that's just the worst thing.
Just want to have fun. That's it. That's the game.
Yeah. Like for that, I think she should have reworded it. I don't know. Like, maybe she didn't know what the meaning or connotations of saying that, but I think they should have reworded that and said, like, you guys need to be pushing, but not burning out. Like, have a good balance. We're gonna have content. We're gonna hype the boys up. Like, they should have said stuff like that, not just saying, yeah, you guys are gonna burn out this season, and we're gonna disband the guild.
Well, I think that they're burning the end of the wick. Like, if this is really the last BA season, right?
Mm-hmm.
You want to use every bit of energy that these guys have, and then they're saying put it all on the field. I don't want you having any energy left for season 14, because we're not gonna be here. We don't care about season 14.
There's gonna mass quit the game.
Yeah, well, that's the rumor that they put out there, and that's why you see so many people who didn't play the game, like from season 9, 10, 11, 12, coming back to BA.
Yeah, but there's people that I heard are coming back. They don't even know what the queue is. They're coming and so Mojo made an announcement finding people. He's like, we'll find everyone except for these two people because they're not used to queue. Like,
why are you filing people? For God's sake.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But it's funny because like people have no idea like what a debuff is, or they have no idea what like a queue is. Like, that just shows you that that's people coming back, right? So those are people filling the ring. So it's gonna be interesting, man. Like, this season for sure. If Blurring wants to push #1, I really think it'll be interesting. I heard some rumors of June push #1, but I'm not completely true. So that I think down the season, as the season goes, we'll see if that's true or not. I'm not sure.
I think, honestly, if those two groups were to fight for #1, I would have to give the advantage to June right now, because the members of June have been active.
Yeah, they have a lot of hype.
Where BA is only active when King Mojo fights, you saw the June teams break off into other guilds. I mean, even Goof and Beamed came back regularly to play in 5v5s and other types of content to still be a part of the game, where you have members like Sucks, who was just gone, and now coming back, I guess, to, I hope he comes back at least, to be there part of BA's final season. I mean, the guy won seasons 1 through 7. So you want to see people like that come back. I think that's good for the game. But the idea of completely burning themselves out in the process, I don't want to see that. That's kind of sad.
Exactly. That's crazy. That's kind of sad. So like, touching on that point you said about June guys, where did they come from? And Sun, and what did Sun reach last season? Number 1 and the most points. So all those guys, all their core, what guild are they in now? June. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens. You got a bunch of like AFKs coming back versus the people who just hit number 1, and they have all the mechanics down, they have all the ideas, the grind down. Let's see what if June is pushing. It's gonna be.
That would be an amazing battle for first place. I would pay for front row seats on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be good for the game overall.
Exactly.
If you had June with Call backed up by Steve and Surf, and then PoE backing up Squad along with Arch backing up Squad, that could be an amazing season war for first place, and I would love to see that. That would be fantastic content across the board.
It would be huge, but at the end of the day, we know who in the long run win that war after the season ends, right?
Well, after the season ends, yeah. I mean, and the harder you see, the harder that one group pushes for that, the more people might join that leaving crew or joining the other side, as we see so often happens when you push for points. And I don't know if that is one of my problems with season points. Is so much of the strength that you get from season points is not related to the activities that make a guild strong in the Outlands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The 5v5 gameplay does not translate well to the Outlands. The towers, yes, you can level them through 5v5, and that's necessary when you're pushing for points. But I feel like it's so disconnected from the gameplay that makes people strong in the Outlands.
Yes. That's absolutely correct.
Do you guys, would you guys like to see any changes in that direction, or do you have any thoughts? I know you just said that you're throwing a bunch of people on the round table next season. Do you guys have any thoughts on how you'd like to see the points scored in the Outlands?
I mean, for one, they should reward winning ZVZs. Think about this. You're going like 200 versus 200, 300 versus 300. What real value do you get from wiping the enemy group in terms of points? Nothing. Like, there's hundreds of millions of gear, hundreds of millions of battle mods down the drain. 0 points, unless you're fighting for castles, of course. But if you're fighting for territories, like what I think is for territory battles or hideouts, especially if you break a level 3 hideout, I think you should get a set amount of points. Imagine this, right? The longer a hideout has been in a zone for a season, let's say at every season, at the start of the season, if a hideout's been in a zone, it generates points similar to a territory. Okay, so when you break that hideout and it's been, let's say, in the season for 50 days, that hideout has generated, let's say, 40,000 points, or like some crazy number like that, right? Especially if it's inner inner zone, and you break that hideout. That right there will solve the hand-holding issue. You know why? Everyone's gonna get greedy. You think guilds like Mudhouse and stuff like that wouldn't see a juicy level 3 hideout next to them that's been generating hundreds of thousands of points? You think they won't hit that? Come on, man. You know how this game is.
Oh, so I do.
Idea. That's if you're talking to Retchman, mention that idea. Like, I think that's
I will. I will. I'll talk to him about that on Friday. We're talking about all sorts of great things regarding season points.
Maybe make a hideout drop a big chest. Like, depends on the level of the hideout.
Okay. Like maybe based on the amount of resources that will get destroyed in the transfer process.
Exactly. Yeah, something like that. Like,
like maybe some calculation, whatever. Like.
Yeah. Because a lot of, like, the older a hideout is, the more items people, like, who are AFK or quit the game, they have in those chests in there, right? So it accumulates, right? Even though if you empty out your chest and stuff like that before it gets broken, only maybe like 10% of the people who are actively playing still use that hideout, right? But the other 90% might have used it months ago. So when you break it, dude, there might be like billions of stuff in that actual like chest in people's personal vaults and stuff like that. So like maybe that's a way to calculate. I'm sure the game can figure that out. So I think that'd be another good idea as well.
That would be a very interesting way to do it. I'm always looking for ways to push more season points into the Outlands and make the season points themselves and the positions in your season rankings to be more relevant. Right now, I feel like it's not quite as important as it could be. And I would like to see it having a greater importance for those members of the Outlands, who I do think of as our top guilds in the game. And when I see guilds that barely participate in Outlands activities on a ZVZ and territorial basis being in the top 20, and seeing what I consider powerhouse guilds in the Outlands barely cracking the top 50 or even 100, I go, something is off with season points. I would like to see more of an encouragement for those powerful guilds to try to rank themselves up.
You want
Exactly.
people to want to push other people in ZVZ, or like more
Exactly.
interest, more interest.
Exactly. Yeah. So what, dude? Like, if they implement that hideout change I said with the point storage, bro, you'll see fights everywhere because people are greedy, man. In this game, there's greed. When people see that, you know how it is, right? When people push ranked, they're not gonna sit there and just let that hideout be there. No, they're gonna fight over it, and that's where it creates chaos. And in this game, I think it's an open world. It's like an MMO. Like, there's full loot. Who doesn't want chaos, right? Who doesn't want chaos in a game like this?
Chaos is what drives this game. Conflict is what drives this game. Conflict drives content.
Exactly.
Content drives repeat play. And that's what this game needs more of. And as we're seeing, like, you saw that the game just doubled in population last week.
270K. That's crazy. That's crazy, man. Like, that's huge. That is huge. Like, it went from what, like 20K to 270? Like, it was like exponential, right? Something like that.
Well, we went from, I believe it's almost a doubling from a month ago.
That's crazy.
And which was, our previous peaks. And when you look at where it's come, say, from November of 2017 to now,
That's crazy.
you basically just put a 0 at the end.
That's crazy.
It's incredible. I am so proud of what the developers have done. And yes, we can complain about A, B, or C, but overall, this game has an incredible gameplay loop that is just so much fun to be part of.
100%.
And there's none that has the story building aspects that this game has.
Exactly.
Like, you guys are heroes in our game. You guys have become legends in the game. The players themselves, everybody knows the name Syndic. Everybody knows the name Mojo. Hell, people still remember the name of Derek, and he hasn't been relevant in months, seasons even. Sorry, Derek. I love you, man. Relevant might not be the right word, but as active, you're still quite relevant. Long live the king.
Oh, that's crazy. He's gonna be mad. He's gonna be mad. He still streams. I seen this stream.
He's one of my favorite streamers. Probably the most informative streamer that we have. If you ask him a question, he will answer it in depth and correctly.
He's changed a lot. He's changed a lot from before. So he's a good guy. I really like him.
Absolutely. I can't give him enough credit for what he's done. He's still my king.
Yeah. Okay, dude. Especially like the 270K members, man. Like, it makes you wonder how many play in the Black Zone. Like, I know there's a lot of mobile players that play at Royals. I really want to see like the Black Zone population, because a lot of things you see now, it makes you wonder what percentage of that entire population actually steps foot into the open or world full loot aspect, like where you lose everything, or do they just play Royals or arenas?
Well, even Arch now is by themselves is hovering around 30K.
Yeah, it's bro, they're amassing so many, man.
Like, that's insane.
Like, the other day in Valbrate Peaks, I fought a 50% Zerg of Arch with 29% Zerg, and we somehow won it. But bro, it was like a zombie horde.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I felt like I was playing another game. Like, man, I never seen a blob. This is after squad left them. This is after like Bloom and everything left them. They're pulling 49% on a random weekend day. Like, there's no objective, just castles. That's insane. I don't know what to tell you, man. Like, that's crazy.
Well, they've also gotten so much better since they started playing with BA.
Exactly. Yeah. No. 100%. 100%.
Like, the average ZVZ play of Arch has gotten much better.
Exactly.
And if they could organize, like, if they could figure out, like, we were talking about how PoE has 40 guys in the team speak, right? Each one leading their different 20-man group there. If Arch could do a similar thing and get their members coordinated so that their cooldowns were coordinated and people knew when to move in properly, they could be unstoppable. They could
100%.
learn how to queue up properly. They could block out 3 zones back, 4 zones back, put you into positions where they're hitting you from behind.
Exactly,
they could really just dominate the world of play, but they are just unorganized in every way possible.
they need more work, man. I know it's been a lot of seasons, but I think they're improving, man. I think like I'm looking at the fights. I fight them actually every day. I don't know if you noticed, but once I wipe the squad in PoE at 18, I have some fights set up with Arch. We can actually go fight them every day. So like we're training each other up. I'm seeing them progress. Like they're improving. Like I really see it with my own eyes.
As they say, iron sharpens iron.
Exactly.
So congratulations to you guys on having a successful season of your own, taking down all those hideouts and expanding your territory base. Is there anything you would like to say before we head out of here? Anybody you'd like to give shout outs to, compliment how they've played with you over the last season? Anybody you want to say, we're coming for you, we're taking this specific territory, you're not going to keep it? Anything like that?
Yeah, so basically, I want to thank a few people in my guild who've done a lot of work. So we have a person named Chow Long Bao. She's one of our logistics officers. We have Ray Garen, also another logistics officers. They really have been backing our logistics team, helping Yocttar really work out regear, stuff like that, and it's a huge help. My party leaders have done a great job as well. Shout out to Who Cares, shout out to Matthias. In terms of people who are coming after next season, I'm telling you, bro, you know what it is. We're coming for those zones and Bridge Rock, those zones and Limerick, and I didn't even say who we're coming for. They know. So let's see.
Excellent. I like it. Well, thank you guys very much for the interview. I really appreciate you guys coming in here. Domknit, Yocttar, you guys have been a pleasure as always. Good luck in season 13. It's going to be a war, and I'm looking forward to covering it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it. Thank you.